Parents was a 1989 released American and Canadian black comedy.
Yeah, it focuses on a family of a mum and dad and a son who move into a new town. It's set in the 50s. 1954, I think. The son's a bit of an odd one. But then when you get to know the parents, you kind of understand why. They're a little bit too nice. Maybe smother him with kindness a bit, and he's a bit suspicious of them, to be honest. And they do like to eat a lot of meat. He starts to wonder where all this meat comes from. Yeah, we'll leave that to your imagination. It's pretty obvious. So you start watching the film, so they're not quite right. And that's it, really. He's a strange little boy. As soon as social worker gets involved, because he draws a bit of a strange picture of his family.
Yeah.
Being the 50s, they just think he's, imagining things and...
Yeah, it's a film about child. I mean, it's from the child's point of view, really. So
a lot of it is, he does dream stuff. So when you're watching it, you're not sure what he is dreaming and what is real.
Yeah.
And even he's not sure some of the time, I think. The parents definitely aren't quite right, are they? Despite their outward appearance of being, wonderfully happy.
Yeah.
There's something a little bit sinister.
There's a bit something
behind their eyes, I would say.
Indeed. Which Randy Quaid is the father. Mm-hmm. So there's Randy Quaid playing the father and Mary Beth Hurt playing the mother. And the boy is Bryan Madorsky,
that's the one.
Who is, I think, only did this film. Randy Quaid often plays kind of quite strange.
Yeah, this isn't the only film where he's played someone like that.
That far removed from, say, the Vacation movies. He plays a kind of slightly strange character in that, and also Independence Day. Similar kind of. I mean, he's a bit seedier and creepier in this one.
Yeah.
But he does it really well. I mean, the film is it's essentially from the child's point of view, so it's kind of a lot. I saw it years ago, and then I watched it last night actually, and I found it slower than. It's quite slow, isn't it? Actually,
a little
times.
bit. It's quite a short film.
It's quite a short film. It's only about 80 minutes, but I quite like. There's some interesting shot. I think the director's first film, Bob Balaban, who was mostly known as an actor. In fact, if you look at a photograph of him, you'll recognise him.
Yeah, he's got one of those. He's one of those actors where you think, "Oh, I've seen him in something," but you can never remember quite what it is.
No, but he was in Close Encounters.
Yeah,
and he was also in Catch-22, which is a great film, and Altered States, which is a really good film. He's cropped up, and he's done lots of TV as well. And I think with this one, it being his first film, he's kind of had fun with the visual side of things.
Definitely. Yeah.
There's some great shots. There's a shot actually where the child comes back into the home and the house seems like really big. So it kind of feels like it's, from the child's point of view. And then obviously there's all those, kids say stupid things. Are they telling the truth or are they not?
Yeah.
And there's a wonderful performance by Sandy Dennis as his social worker, psychologist. Sandy Dennis is obviously famous for things like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and the Out and Towners and things like that. She's good fun in this. There's a score. It was composed by a chap called Jonathan Elias, and the music is quite it's very of the time. It's in fact the film starts off. It's quite sinister when it starts off, and then suddenly it flashes into the 50s, and you have that kind of. I don't know what you'd reference it to. Maybe like commercials.
Yeah, like jingles.
Jingle kind of music, which is quite it's playful and it's quite fun.
I mean, it suits the era, doesn't it?
Suits the era, but it's also got lots of 50s song rock and roll.
There's Big Bopper in there and stuff like that.
I tell you one thing that I really found interesting with it. So it's maybe not a widely known fact, but you know it, that I'm not the biggest Stranger Things fan. But what I found actually what's really interesting is that, so if you look at a lot of films from the 80s, like this, and Back to the Future, and films either set in the 50s or have 50s elements going on, which is basically why Stranger Things exists today, because obviously we are now, 30 years since the 80s? Like the 50s was to the 80s.
Yeah.
So that's, a lot of the filmmakers that we grew up with in the 80s will grow up during the 50s, and so have a lot of their influences by, thinking that the 50s. I find Stranger Things odd because obviously I was alive in the 80s, but they're not doing anything different. So maybe I'll go back and rewatch Stranger Things and find something, look at it in a different light. I have nothing against Stranger. I saw the first season and I enjoyed it. I just found it was
too many references
to the 80s, but then these films are doing exactly the same stuff, in the 80s to the 50s. I mean, Back to the Future is full of 50s references, but we went around in the 50s, so it's kind of quite cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen Stranger Things, so I don't even have an opinion. But
you haven't seen it at all?
No.
Oh, I thought you'd seen it.
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't have Netflix. Sorry.
Oh, right. That's fair enough.
too tight to pay for it.
That's what I thought in any case. But yeah, so I mean, it's a strange little one. I think it's available, isn't it? There's
Yep. There's the DVD here. It's in a double.
It's a double bill with Fear, which is not that great.
No. But yeah, so that's not too hard to pick up. But I think about a year or so ago, it was released under the Vestron video label by the Lionsgate, and given a nice restoration and lots of extras
Blu-ray.
and stuff. Yeah, Blu-ray, yeah. And given some extras and that, which, this doesn't have any extras, and I don't think any other releases. I mean, I don't think it's ever been released on DVD in the UK at all.
No, because that was imported.
Yeah. So, and the Blu-ray is only in the States as well. I mean, Vestron Video, that label has released some stuff over here, but that isn't one of them as of yet. But yeah, there's lots of others like Return of the Living Dead 3 and
Right.
I just can't think of any others. But yeah, it's it's Lionsgate trying to capture that sort of collector market for like sort of obscure old films.
Cool. Yeah, well, give it a look, and if you do, or if you have one of the fewer people that have seen it, then let us know. We'd love to hear what you think of it. Leave a comment and all that, and or subscribe.
Definitely do that.
Yeah.
Check us out on Twitter and Facebook,
Yeah.
and we'll see you again soon for another one.
We shall indeed.